The year 2025 is truly the very last year of the life as we currently know it and as we were born into, complete with all its established rules, deeply held beliefs, intricate culture, meticulously planned future, and indeed all the myriad other human things that define our existence. This profound shift is not only because of the powerful influence of Neptune, which is widely understood to bring about humanity's ultimate and final crisis, but also significantly because we now have the transformative presence of Pluto, further intensifying these monumental changes and challenges. In a very specific position, and this is Pluto, which from 2025 to 2027, over the course of 2 years, will close the door on the reign of our species on planet Earth. That is, we have ruled the planet Earth. It was our era, ever since the appearance of Homo sapiens sapiens. Modern humans, Homo sapiens sapiens, appeared approximately 50,000 years ago. The modification of modern humans through interbreeding with Neanderthals. That is, Cro-Magnon man, anatomically modern humans, appeared approximately 100,000 years ago. Neanderthals had already, I believe, lived for at least 500,000 years, 500,000 years, maybe even a bit more. Cro-Magnon man appeared 100,000 years ago, and at that moment, the era of the Neanderthal began to come to an end, because until then, Neanderthals had reigned and evolution had worked towards their development. But it turned out that they were a species destined to go extinct, passing on part of their genetics through interbreeding with Cro-Magnons to the new species, Homo sapiens sapiens. These are the 7 chakra beings. Its task was to leave the stage to die. If the Earth had been allotted more years than it has, and it has about 1,300 years left, a little less, just under a few decades, our species would have gone extinct in the same way over, 4,000 or 5,000 years, just as the Neanderthals did. Well, we won't live to see that because no one will. The Raves who were supposed to reign won't outlive us because they'll perish along with us and with all living things on planet Earth in 1,300 years. And that's so far away, and it's such bullshit, some kind of future that honestly none of us care about, right? I mean, who cares, really? I am genuinely and profoundly interested in absolutely everything Rauruhu has ever said, which is precisely why Bantu is my most cherished and favorite aspect of the entire human design system, because Bantu truly contains comprehensive knowledge about not only what was, but also what will be. And in fact, this information about the catastrophe on Earth in 1,300 years, it comes from Bantu. So very soon, in just about 30 days from now, I will be officially starting this comprehensive and incredibly insightful course, specifically designed for all of those individuals who are genuinely interested in participating and learning from it. And I've decided for myself that even if only 4 people sign up, it won't bother me. I want to run it that much. And this will be the 3rd time I've taught Bantu in my entire history since I finished Ra's library. So by now, of course, it will be really crystallized for me. And many things have caught up with me. Many things have taken shape as ideas, as meaning. What Ra was talking about, many things have gained some kind of substance from this theory of the existence of the universe. So if any of you end up at Bantu, well, that's cool. It's cool because here's the forecast, and in just a month, Bantu. That would be awesome. So yes, all this information, Ra called it gray information, meaning it's kind of unprovable. On the one hand, it's unprovable, but on the other hand, I, as a person, I think I'm the only one in the human design system among all the old students who endlessly engages in searching for and comparing historical data. Well, that's my interest. I have the 64th activated 5 times, so it's a real genuine interest of mine. That is to look at and verify the human design system and its theory through a historical lens. I actually know history quite well, so that's what I find interesting to observe and explore. So that's what Avatra said about global cycles. But is that really so? Let me take a look from a historical perspective at how this distribution plays out. So for me, this is really, well, it's no less than painting. There's nothing better than painting for me, but digging into historical processes and comparing them with human design theory is just as good as painting. So, yes. So this is the gray area of knowledge that I personally confirm through my own careful and detailed historical research and investigation. As for the past, it is important to remember that Pluto is no longer officially classified as a planet. Oh God, do I have another slide after this or not? Pluto is a planet intended exclusively for nine-centered beings. Pluto was in the 41st gate, if you remember. That's the start. That is, when a planet enters the 41st hexagram, it begins its cycle, any planet. So Pluto was in the 41st hexagram when we, the nine-centered beings, appeared on planet Earth. And Pluto will be in the 41st hexagram again in 246 years, at the moment when the raves appear on planet Earth. So Pluto brought us here. It brought us into this world, so to speak. That is its program for us. And Pluto will close us off and open the door for the raves. The slogan of Pluto, when we usually look at rave charts, yes, and try to analyze them in terms of which planets filtered the program, yes, in which sectors they were positioned. Well, we say that Pluto is, this is a Ra. Introduced this kind of mythology. Ra said that Pluto is like a grandmother who, unlike parents, isn't going to tell you that babies are brought by a stork. When the grandson comes to his grandmother and asks, "Grandma, where do babies come from?" Grandma says, "Well, babies are born from the union of a man and a woman." In other words, the grandmother is so old that she's not afraid of saying something inappropriate. She basically tells the truth. Ra said that Pluto is an indicator of where our truth lies, where the real truth is. In reality, for rave charts, as I see it, Pluto in rave charts, in personal rave charts, in individual rave charts, it simply defines the gate, especially if there is also definition there. It's more for fixing our understanding of how it works, how our personal DNA works in a unique way, and in finding the truth in a personal chart about what the truth of this person's life is. I genuinely believe it's quite a fanciful and imaginative attempt because we simply cannot find profound meaning or lasting significance in anything that moves or exists for a duration longer than our own individual lives. That is precisely why Pluto, the distant dwarf planet, moves slowly and deliberately through the infinite-symbolic mandala wheel, completing its grand celestial journey. Around the ecliptic circle in 245 or 246 years. What can we know about Pluto? Absolutely nothing. But when it comes to global cycles, yes, that's where it really has a hand. It really has a hand in it. So Pluto's slogan is this: as long as you worship someone else and despise the little dwarf, me, then I rule your fate because I am your god. Let's see where our god stands this year. And naturally, we see both the black position and the position that gives us the red Pluto program. And in the black position at the moment of New Year, Pluto is in the 60th hexagram, 6th line. And in the position 3 months before the New Year, Pluto is in the 60th hexagram, 4th line. Here he is, our dear God, our little God. He literally brought us into this world. And he tells us, guys, well, we've had our fun and that's enough. Really, you should be grateful that I brought you here. And we say to him, oh, you piece of crap. We're going to remove you from your role as a planet now. We'll call you a dwarf, an asteroid, and you'll just fly around as an asteroid. And he's like, you little humans, you little humans. It's okay, it's okay. But I'll close your door and all your little mouths will shut because you won't have time to look at the sky and ponder silly things. So that's our Pluto. Well, yes, of course, I made some slides. So Pluto makes a full circle of the ecliptic from the 41st hexagram back to the 41st hexagram. That's its year out of 248 years. This means that Pluto passes through one sector, one hexagram. Did I turn it on? No, I didn't turn it on. Turning it on now. Is the cursor visible? Pluto passes through one hexagram sector in 3 years and 7 to 8 months. It depends on whether it returns or doesn't return within one hexagram or another. 3 years and 7 to 8 months. So the whole war is happening under Pluto. Pluto was in the 41st gate in 1781, when mutants began to be born from the 7 chakra beings, us, the 9-centered ones. And Pluto will be in the 41st gate again. In 1708, this remarkable cycle truly began its own distinct and enduring journey. A phenomenal 248 years, it steadfastly kept going and going, continuing its relentless progression, and it will once again be prominently in the 41st gate in the year 2027, which is in fact just 2 short years from now. But you remember that the sector of the sky is so huge that in order to... Where does this word lines come from? A line is a designation for a subsector of a sector. The sector, in our case, is a hexagram, and we divide the sky into 64 sectors. But they are enormous, they're just too big. We need to specify this program more precisely. The hexagrams program needs to be specified in order to reveal uniqueness. Because, well, just think how many people are born like me on December 5th. A hell of a lot of them are born. And on December 6th, a hell of a lot are born too, but they're all in the same. That is, their personality sun will all be in the same 5th hexagram, all in the same one. And how many people are born on December 4th? Yeah, a hell of a lot too. Their personality sun will all be in the same 5th hexagram. So, in order to specify what makes us different, all those born on December 5th, all those born on the 4th or 6th, in order to be specific, we need to specify the place within the sector. And that's why the human design system divides the sector into 6 subsectors. And these subsectors are conventionally called lines, conventionally. Technically, it's a subsector. And that's why after the decimal point in the chart, we have something like 32.4, right? Which hexagram did we analyze last? Let's just take a look for a moment now. The 17th, right? The 31st. Hexagram 3131.1. What is this 0.1 anyway? This is the 0.1, and here it is again, and I'm reading, what am I reading? So I'm reading the specification of the program, because the bigger topic here is the sector topic. Here it is 31, what we analyzed, the Earth. This is influence. This is the law of active or passive connection, which transmits from one to another, and in this way, influence is born. We understand that the hexagram 31 is all about influence. About influence, if you know a bit more about human design theory, on the collective. So what's the difference in the influence of one person born on January 21st and another born on January 22nd? There will be a difference between them. Yes, their line will change. That is, the sun will move from the first sector, the first line, to the second line. And there will be a different program there. So what? So for example, Pluto was in the third line of the 41st gate in 1781. And the third line is the line of mutation. That means wherever you look, whether it's a person's personal rave chart, a transit, or the yearly program, if there's a third line, that's mutation. It's a specific change. And change cannot happen. Nothing new can be born without pain. That's why we say that people of the third line are martyrs. And everything that happens on the third line always has this nature of incidents, trials, and something new. There's always some kind of novelty. So yes, on the third line of the 40, of the first gate, when Pluto was there, a mutation occurred, and from 7 chakra bodies, that is a completely different structure, with a different organization of codon interconnections within the DNA, the chemistry was connected differently there. Still the same 64 codons, that's not the issue. And with chimpanzees, it's almost all the same. But we are somehow different, right? So something changed. Some kind of switch flipped and something changed. A mutation occurred and we, the 9-centered beings, began to be born. And when Pluto is in the third line again, in 248 years, in the 41st gate, it means that some fundamental mutation will begin here. And this mutation will be the raves, not humans. We will give birth to them, but they will not be human. Mutations will begin and the raves will be born. And now attention. Pluto was in the initial line of the 41st gate in 1779. 2 years before the arrival of the 9-centered beings, before the birth of the 9-centered beings. We had 2 years. Pluto will be in the first line of the 41st gate in 2025, 2 years before the arrival of the raves. What does this information tell us if we know that Pluto governs the arrival of the 9-centered beings, and in particular, the division of the 9-centered beings into humans and raves? What does this program tell us? It tells us that as soon as Pluto enters the first line of the 41st gate, the process is absolutely inevitable and irreversible, and it rolls down like a multi-ton steamroller from a hill, very quickly. Because everything has to be finished by the third line. All of these things Pluto will finally close the door to our world in 2027. It will begin to close it at the first line of the 41st gate. So since it entered there briefly in 2024, those who attended the transits, or maybe the history of humanity, I don't remember at the transits, you heard, we talked about it, that this was the first sign that the door will soon close. That was Pluto's first greeting. It was like, well, guys, that's it. From this moment on, everything is just rolling, well, just straight down and can't be stopped. All right, I'll continue. In 2025, Pluto will enter there a second time, very soon, already very soon in February. It will enter the 41st gate, the first line, for the second time. And not for 2 months like in 2024, but for 7 months, from February to August. From this moment, fractal lines into the new future begin to form. Lines of meetings between those people who are meant to survive in order to live in the new era. And most importantly, the fractal lines of meetings between those who will become the parents of Pisces. The door to our world will slam shut for good with the end of the cross of planning and with the beginning of the cross of the Phoenix, and this will be on February 15th, 2027, when Pluto is in the third line of the 41st gate. Ra said this in his very large seminar called Global Cycles. It lasted 3 days, and for a regular seminar, that was a lot. Ra rarely led anything for that long. Yes, and in this seminar, he said that the cross of the sleeping phoenix will begin on February 15th, 2027. From that moment on, evolution will no longer be interested in our species, because our species is an intermediate one. Its task was to serve as a link between the 7-centered humanity, which reigned and ruled on Earth for at least 50,000 years, and between the Raves, who would have ruled this Earth for many hundreds of thousands of years if the Earth were to continue to exist. It will not continue to exist. Therefore, we and the Raves will live until the end of the Earth together, and it will not be a virus that kills or destroys us. Humanity will continue to live. We don't know how. We know one thing. The evolutionary process no longer concerns humanity. The evolutionary process concerns only the rave. Yes, that's how it is. How this will play out in practice, and to what extent we who are alive now will actually be able to see that the evolutionary process no longer cares about us. I don't know. I really don't know. Especially if you understand that the program does not have the goal of destroying humanity in the next 1,300 years. If you understand that, then how it will look, I don't know. And actually, there is a whole big course dedicated to this. It's the Rave course. I taught it once or maybe twice. I don't remember. Honestly, I do want to teach it again, but that's not the point. From this moment, our civilization will begin to rapidly fall apart because the evolutionary process will have nothing to do with our species for the next 1,300 years, but it will be against our civilization. Because as a civilization, we dominate the earth. And if we continue this, we will hinder the development of the new species. That's why our civilization will be destroyed. That's it. Enjoy. The last, I don't know, decades, we're all still lucky, and those who survive will continue to be lucky and live on. Those who enter the Sphinx's cross, well, we can enjoy this warmth. Where does it come from? My radiator works, it's 0 degrees outside, but my radiator works, my room is warm. Where does it come from? Hell if I know. I don't know. Because civilization has been arranging all this for at least 10,000 years. 10,000 years. A huge number of generations have worked, done all this, improved it, and been enlightened. And they worked hard physically to build everything we have now, our infrastructure, our wonderful homes, the absolute material comfort we live in. Enjoy it. I don't know how much longer we'll get to enjoy it. So don't waste time. Enjoy it. But let's take a look at the annual program. In which program, according to which program, in 2025, Pluto will complete our story. And it will complete it. Because as I already said, it did not enter the annual program. In the annual program, it did not enter gate 41. This means that human history continues and it will be actively, very actively approaching its end. And if it will be actively approaching its end, that means we will see, well, we will literally see how our story is coming to an end. And I said that in February of this year, 2025, Pluto enters gate 41, the first line, and will remain there until August 20th. On August 20th, Pluto will return to this same position and stay there until December 5th. And on December 5th, 2025, Pluto will enter gate 41 for good. That's it. It won't go back to gate 60 anymore. I'm being proven right. Let me check now. So what is this program? 60.6 and 60.4. Let's see. Let's read, let's look, let's see if there's a world war in there. So gate 60 limitation. Oh, we know this very well. We know perfectly well that 20, 22, 23, and 24 are all years of limitation. We've all ended up in limitations. Limitations. There's no choice. Either sit in your apartment or run to a bomb shelter because a missile is flying, and that's a limitation. There's no choice about anything because some people are limited by war, like the residents of Ukraine. Some are limited because their bank went bankrupt and now all their savings are gone, and that's a limitation. That's it. There's nothing you can do anymore. No matter what you try, it doesn't work. Some are limited because a relative got sick and you can't just leave them. You have to be there with that relative. And all of that is a limitation. And that's what we've been living through. In 2022, I think, no, definitely in 2023 and 2024, we've been living through this. And maybe even part of 2022 as well. I don't remember if it was in the annual program in 2022 or not, but that doesn't matter now. And it's not just a sector of limitation for us, right? It's a big program. We have under the program, under the sector, the sixth line, and it is described as steadfastness, an intuitive intelligence to recognize when absolute firmness is necessary, but at the same time, with an innovative application that lessens its severity and the harm it causes. A dogmatic, principled, and thoroughly reasoned understanding, uncompromising in its rigidity, and often coldly brutal in action. An uncompromising and harsh acceptance of limitations, so uncompromising that the limitation itself can become unbearable. I saw firsthand how this works in the way the Ukrainian government, represented by the elected president and all his servants of the people, treats its citizens. Of Ukraine, I saw it with my own eyes. It was all about causing harm. In other words, there was no intuitive intelligence to create restrictions for people to say, oh, guys, look, we're at war. We're currently at war. We've been brutally attacked by those bastards, and everything is truly and utterly bad. So now everyone absolutely has to give up at least half of their salary to supply the army, to restore industry, and there's nothing we can do about it. There was no intuitive intelligence, nothing was said, nothing at all. And what did they do? They started grabbing people off the streets and dragging them into the army, harshly, brutally. Look, it was brutal, really brutal. And they were like, well, restrictions, we're at war. Why should we care about democracy, human rights? Why do we need that? We don't need it. To see what other innovative ways there might be to approach restrictions,